Battle of the Titans. Cameras and speakers versus skibidi toilets. The city was in chaos. The sky was filled with smoke, and explosions echoed, deafening all who dared listen. The streets were deserted, with only the sound of distant screams, and the howl of the wind, passing through crumbling buildings. This was the final battle. Cameraman, with his glowing lenses that shone like the eyes of a predator, stood at the front lines. He was a loyal warrior of the tech army, fighting alongside Speakerman, a titan with a metallic body and speakers capable of producing deadly sound waves. Together, they fought to protect the world. Their enemy was a nightmare, called skibidi toilets, bizarre creatures, resembling mutated toilets that could emerge from anywhere unexpectedly. Titan Cameraman, the leader of the team, stood in the middle of the battlefield with determination etched across his face. He issued commands to the others and fired laser beams from his massive lenses, taking down skibidi toilets one by one. But the skibidi toilets seemed endless. For every one that was destroyed, 3 more emerged from the ground. Attack! We can't let them get closer. Titan Cameraman's voice rang out above the explosions. Speaker Man Titan, with his lethal sound waves, unleashed a blast of high-frequency noise. The skibidi toilets, disrupted by the sonic assault, began to tremble and collapse. But suddenly, a colossal skibidi toilet erupted from the ground. This one was different. It had a steel body and glowing red eyes that radiated menace. "Cover me. I'll take this one down," Cameraman shouted. He charged toward the giant skibidi toilet, firing powerful laser beams. But the monstrous skibidi raised an energy shield, deflecting the attack. Speakerman Titan rushed to his aid, using his sonic waves to shatter the shield. This was the pivotal moment. Cameraman seized the opportunity, gathering all his energy, and fired a massive laser beam directly at the core of the skibidi toilet. The beam struck true, reducing the creature to fragments of metal and smoke. When the final giant was defeated, a deafening explosion marked the end of the battle, and the battlefield fell silent. The Titans, Cameraman and Speakerman, stood side by side, exhausted but victorious. This fight was for the freedom and safety of the world, and they had succeeded. But no one knew if this was the end of the skibidi toilets or just the beginning of a larger war.
In a fictional city where advanced technology and scientific wonders coexisted, Cameraman, a hero with a camera for a head, was known as the symbol of hope for the people. But amidst this peace, a strange and mysterious enemy called skibidi toilet lurked in the shadows of the city. Skibidi toilet, a sinister fusion of a talking toilet and a living creature, had a bizarre ability to produce hypnotic sounds and launch sudden attacks. Using his powers, he gradually captured the citizens of the city, trapping them in his imaginary world. This terrifying creature, born from failed scientific experiments, sought to dominate the city and destroy Cameraman. On one grim day, Cameraman received news of a mysterious attack in the city center. When he arrived at the scene, the streets were empty and silent, but the disturbing, rhythmic sound of the skibidi song echoed in the air. He knew this sound could mean only one thing: skibidi toilet was advancing. Cameraman cautiously entered the main street. His advanced cameras allowed him to analyze movements and environmental changes with precision. But before he could make sense of the situation, skibidi toilet emerged from the shadows. His glowing eyes and an evil grin signaled a deadly battle ahead. "You can't stop me, Cameraman," skibidi toilet said with a malicious voice. "This city belongs to me." Cameraman reached for his advanced gadgets and activated his weapons. "As long as I'm here, I won't let you harm anyone." Skibidi Toilet attacked cameraman with unexpected speed. He shot streams of toxic water from his pipes that could destroy anything in their path. Cameraman barely dodged these attacks and countered with laser beams from his camera head. The laser struck Skibidi Toilet, but he withstood the damage easily. His metallic shell provided a powerful defense against the attacks. Cameraman quickly realized he needed to find a way to exploit the enemy's weaknesses. In the midst of the battle, cameraman noticed that Skibidi Toilet relied on a small device inside his body to produce the hypnotic sound. He knew that if he could disable this device, Skibidi Toilet would lose his powers. With careful planning, cameraman launched a strategic attack. Using his small drones, he distracted Skibidi Toilet from multiple directions. Then, with a swift and precise leap, he approached the enemy's weak spot and fired a direct laser shot at the device. Skibidi Toilet froze momentarily. The skibidi sound that had engulfed the entire city abruptly stopped. But this victory was temporary. Skibidi Toilet quickly regenerated and resumed his attacks with even greater intensity. The battle spread across various streets of the city. Both cameraman and Skibidi Toilet were injured, but neither was willing to give up. The city's residents watched the fight from their windows with fear and anxiety, praying for their hero to triumph. Deep within the crumbling outskirts, the ground trembled. The Skibidi Toilet Man, a colossal entity, born of surreal absurdity, rose from the ruins. Its porcelain body gleamed under the pale moonlight, and its hollow eyes stared down at the chaos it was about to unleash. The air around it vibrated with an unnatural energy, sending waves of fear through the city's inhabitants. But the city wasn't defenseless. In a hidden underground lair, two unlikely defenders prepared for battle. Speaker Man, with his powerful sound-emitting head, stood tall. His sleek, metallic body was lined with glowing blue circuits, and his speakers pulsed with energy. Beside him, TV Man adjusted the dials on his screen-shaped head. His static-filled visage flickered briefly before locking into a determined glare. The duo had faced many threats before, but none as daunting as the towering Skibidi Toilet Man. "We can't let it reach the city center," Speaker Man said, his voice a deep, resonant boom. "Agreed," TV Man replied, his voice distorted like an old broadcast. "But we need a plan. That thing's enormous." The ground quaked again, and a distant roar filled the air. There was no time for detailed strategies. The two raced toward the source of the disturbance, their movements swift and purposeful. When they arrived, the Skibidi Toilet Man was already wreaking havoc. Its massive hands tore through buildings like paper, and its deep, guttural laughs echoed across the city. People screamed and scattered, seeking shelter from the destruction. Speaker Man stepped forward, planting his feet firmly on the ground. He unleashed a blast of concentrated sound, a shockwave so powerful that it shattered windows for miles around. The Skibidi Toilet Man staggered, its laugh turning into a groan of irritation. But it was far from defeated. It retaliated by hurling a chunk of debris at Speaker Man, who barely dodged in time. "Keep it distracted," TV Man shouted. He climbed onto a nearby rooftop, his screens glowing brighter. Channeling energy through his body, he fired a beam of searing light at the giant's face. The Skibidi Toilet Man roared again, this time in pain, as the beam scorched its porcelain surface. The battle raged on, each combatant refusing to yield. Speaker Man's sound waves and TV Man's energy beams whittled down the giant's strength. But the Skibidi Toilet Man's resilience was formidable. It fought back with relentless ferocity, forcing the duo to stay on their toes. As the fight dragged into the night, the city itself seemed to join the fray. The neon signs flickered with renewed vigor, casting eerie, colorful lights onto the battlefield. The rubble and debris seemed to shift purposefully, forming makeshift barriers to slow the giant's advance. It was as if the city's spirit refused to let this absurd monstrosity claim victory. Finally, as dawn began to break, the tide of the battle shifted. Speaker Man and TV Man, though battered and exhausted, synchronized their attacks. With a thunderous blast of sound and a blinding surge of light, they struck the Skibidi Toilet Man's core. A deafening crack echoed through the air as the giant stumbled and fell, its massive body shattering upon impact. The city fell silent, save for the distant hum of morning traffic. Speaker Man and TV Man stood amidst the wreckage, their forms silhouetted against the rising sun. They exchanged a weary glance, their unspoken bond stronger than ever. "We did it," Speaker Man said, his voice tinged with relief. "For now," TV Man replied. "But we'll be ready for whatever comes next." As the city began to stir awake, its people emerged cautiously from their shelters. Cheers and applause erupted, a chorus of gratitude for the two heroes who had saved their home. The battle was over, but the memory of it would linger, a reminder of resilience, unity, and the courage to face even the most surreal of threats.